Yo everybody, it's International Master Danny Rensch, and this is a sweet chess game. Actually, today's video lecture is also over on Chess.com. That's right, it's a party. Double the action, double the fun. But you know what? This was so exciting, I couldn't keep it just for our Chess.com users. Couldn't keep it just for our Chess.com premium members who see video lectures. This is the game between Kamsky and Mamedyarov from the FIDE World Cup in Tromso just a few days ago. And Kamsky employed the line f4 against the Taimanov, which is not as popular as, let's say, bishop e3 or other main lines against the Taimanov these days, at least at the highest level, but a very aggressive approach and one that leads us to this typical Scheveningen structure with e4, f4 versus e6 and d6. Talk a lot about that pawn structure and break down a lot of the finer details as far as how Kamsky's awesome development led to his great attack in the full version video lecture over there on Chess.com. So if you want to go check that out, you can. But in this position, after king h1, very standard moves, we're looking at a position where all of white's pieces are ideally placed. And as I highlighted, when you get all of your pieces on their best squares, it's time to stop looking around everywhere else, right? Sometimes the grass is not greener anywhere else, and you have to make it happen, Captain. And what we're going to see is the structure that is set up here offers white a lot of great attacking chances if he can drive this move e5 home. So Kamsky plays the move a3 first, which slows down the attack. b4 not possible because of knight takes c6 first and then a takes b4. The more typical and, let's say, more common approach in this type of position has been g4 for a long time, but those positions are very unclear, and what Kamsky does here with a3 highlights that he doesn't want to go for the main line after g4 and allow his pieces to be kicked around and essentially have to remaneuver, as I said. He highlights, I don't want any more remaneuvering. I want my pieces right where they are. I don't want a piece. I want the whole thing. I play a3, and I have a very concrete approach prepared. What does Kamsky do? He eliminates the knight on c6, which takes away typical Scheveningen defensive ideas of taking and playing e5 with a tempo. And after doing so, puts the queen on h3, immediately opening threats with e5. It doesn't get any more forcing than that. I'm basically going to open up the e-file, take the knight on f6, shake and bake, and I helped, and that's called checkmate on h7. Black plays the move rook f to d8, which makes sense because it frees up the f8 square in a lot of variations, preventing an exchange sacrifice. One example might be something like this. And if white goes for this, I can actually take it, and surprisingly, you end up with nothing but a bowl full of jelly with my king on e7. So white doesn't do that, but what's amazing about a rook f to d8, and I can't confirm how much of this was preparation or not, as I said in the main video lecture on Chess.com, seemed to have misplaced Kamsky's cell line and his hotel room number in Tromso, so couldn't give him a jingle myself. But I'm going to guess that a lot of this was preparation and that he saw the ideas of how white's pieces are going to work so well together to launch this incredible attack. And starts with the forcing move bishop to d2, threatening to play e5. Brilliant. The move d5 comes. e5 itself is another way to try to deal with this sometimes, but the main problem is it runs into tactics with knight to d5, sacrificing material at the cost of opening up this diagonal, and white's attack gets pretty funky after that, I'll just say that. So d5 followed by putting the knight on e4 is probably the more standard approach by black, and one that Mamedyarov thought would be totally sufficient in holding down the position, but he missed something. A little something extra was coming here, and Kamsky gets real with the move f5. Double exclamaviach, boomtown. I'm sacrificing the bishop on d2 with absolutely no fear, and I plan on checkmating you before move 30. Will he succeed in that? I don't know. Let's see. After knight takes d2, f takes c6. f6 is something I thought was also interesting, but it doesn't work out as well after knight e4. So f takes e6. Not afraid to give up the rook because I'm taking on h7 and mating you. I take on f7, and the second amazing blow comes in with knight takes d5. Temporarily sacrificing a piece, not really because I undermine the knight, but it's really hard and counterintuitive to consider a move like that when so many pieces are protecting the pawn. Probably you thought he played it just to pick up material, but nay, he played it because he had another blow prepared. Rook takes e4. The material just keeps on being given away. He's begging. He's practically trying to pay his opponent to take his material. But bishop takes e4 would only allow a mate on the light squares. h6 met with queen f5, g6 met with bishop takes g6, and black's obstacle bishop problems really highlight that white's attack is unstoppable. So knight takes d5 takes, rook takes e4 was played. Black played the only move in the position, which is g6. FYI, there was another threat here. If you want to pause the video and try to figure it out, you can. But it was queen takes h7 and rook h4, double checkmate. or sorry, double check, which leads to mate. Hey, if you could have a double checkmate, you'd really be ahead of the game, wouldn't you? G6, rook e4. According to analysis by the critics afterwards, rook e3, maintaining protection of the e5 pawn, but also opening up this threat, was the theoretically best way for white to approach this position and maybe kept the attack going in its most concrete way. But only the best play from Mamedyarov with queen takes e5 would have been able to hold the position after bishop takes g6. This doesn't look like a lot of fun for black to play, but apparently after h6 and some complicated lines, black did have a chance to reach a sort of semi-equal endgame where he might have been able to hold. Mamedyarov did not find this idea, though, after rook ef4, and instead played the move king g7, and after a few more forcing moves to get pieces realigned, Kamsky finds the final amazing blow. In this position, instead of playing tickle with the bishop and going back and forth, he simply plays the move queen to e3, threatening mate in 2, and pointing out that bishop takes h4 is losing immediately to the amazing queen d4 check, queen takes h4 with check, everybody's falling with check, and this king is going to find himself mated sooner rather than later. And so in these cases, black didn't see any other option besides to play the move h5, but after queen d4 check and the final brilliant knockout blow, again, pause the video if you want to feel like a king, boom. King Kong, rook takes h5. G takes h5 would run into rook to f6 check, and you can pause the video and do the math after that, but it's over. King takes h5, I'm pretty sure is met with queen to g7. I didn't analyze this with a computer, I just got real and analyzed it for you myself. And black is going to be mated here sooner rather than later once again. So Mamedyarov simply resigned after the move rook takes h5. I guess if king takes h5, the other brilliant way to play is just the move queen takes d5, which actually is not a move that I suggested over on the Chess.com main video lecture. I suggested queen to g7, which turns out may not have been the best. Looks like queen takes d5, and simple moves, like even just coming back or targeting the g6 pawn, were probably even better than the move I suggested, queen g7. So I'll go ahead and post a note over there on Chess.com's video lecture just to tell people that the right answer is actually over in the YouTube video. Look at it. The YouTube fans are winning today, right? Take that, Chess.com fans. YouTube video is better than your video. All right, everybody, follow me on Twitter, and I will see you around on Chess.com.